You're standing on the first tee, the same tee you've played for years. You make your swing, the ball jumps off the club, and it lands 20, maybe 30 yards short of where it used to. Your buddy outdrives you now, and the worst part is, you're swinging harder than you ever have. I know that feeling because I lived it. For a long time I believed the story everybody tells you. That distance leaves when you turn 60. That it's gone and it's not coming back. That your best golf is behind you. I was wrong. Every bit of it was wrong. Here's the truth I learned the hard way. Most of the distance older golfers lose has nothing to do with age or strength. It comes from 5 small mistakes that creep into the swing so slowly you never notice them. Fix those 5 things and 30 yards come back. I've watched it happen to men in their 70s. And the strangest part of this whole story is where I learned it. Not from a big American teaching academy. I learned it on a quiet driving range outside Nagoya, Japan, from a soft-spoken instructor who was almost 80 years old and still hitting his driver 240 yards straight down the middle. I'm going to hand you everything he showed me, and near the end I'll give you one drill he called the old wood drill, a method rooted in a Japanese teaching tradition going back to the 1950s, that fixed my tempo in a single afternoon. You can do it this weekend in your own backyard with nothing but the club already in your bag. You don't need to be flexible, you don't need to be strong, you just need to stop making these 5 mistakes. Let me take you back to how this started, because I was the biggest skeptic of all. I was 61 years old. I'd played golf for most of my life, never great but steady, and over about 5 years my drives had shrunk from a respectable 230 yards down to under 200. I did what every man does. I bought a new driver. $450. It helped for about 2 rounds. Then I bought a different shaft. Then I started swinging harder, gritting my teeth, trying to kill the ball. And the harder I swung, the shorter it went. Some days I was so frustrated I wanted to walk off the course. A friend of mine had a work trip to Japan and asked me to come along for 2 weeks. I almost said no, but something told me to go, and on the 4th day, bored while he was in meetings, I found a little driving range tucked between 2 rice fields on the edge of the city. That's where I met the old man. His name was Mr. Takeda. He'd been a teaching professional since the 1960s. He barely spoke English, and I spoke no Japanese, but golf is its own language. I watched him hit balls for 20 minutes before I said a word. He looked frail, thin arms, slightly stooped, and yet every single ball flew straight and long, with a sound off the club face I hadn't made in years. I finally pointed at my own driver, then at the range, and shrugged, the universal sign for, I'm hopeless. He smiled and waved me over. What he showed me over the next 10 days changed everything I thought I knew about the golf swing. And it starts with the very first mistake, the one almost every senior golfer makes without ever realizing it. The first mistake is this. You are swinging too hard, and it is costing you distance. I know that sounds backward. Swing harder, hit it farther, right? That's what feels true. It's a lie, and it's the most expensive lie in golf. Here's what Mr. Takeda did on my very first swing. He had me hit a driver as hard as I could. I grunted, lunged at it, and topped it 40 yards along the ground. Then he held up one hand, said one word he'd clearly practiced in English, half, and mimed a smooth, easy swing at about half effort. I thought he was crazy. I made a lazy, relaxed swing that felt like nothing at all. That ball flew straight and carried a good 20 yards farther than my hard one. I stood there stunned. 20 yards. From swinging easier. Here's why this happens, and there's real science behind it. Clubhead speed doesn't come from muscle force. It comes from sequence and timing. When you swing too hard, you fire your big muscles too early. Your shoulders and arms tense up, and tension is the enemy of speed. A tense muscle moves slower than a relaxed one. Researchers who study the swing have measured this for decades. When your grip pressure and shoulder tension go up, your actual clubhead speed at impact goes down, even though it feels more violent. There's a tempo ratio that the best swings in the world share. It's almost exactly 3 to 1. The backswing takes 3 times as long as the downswing. This was studied and documented in detail by a researcher named John Novosel, who filmed dozens of top players and found nearly all of them share this same 3 to 1 timing, regardless of how fast or slow they appear. When you swing too hard, you wreck that ratio. Your downswing gets too quick, you throw the club from the top, and all your speed gets spent before the ball. Mr. Takeda understood this in his bones long before anybody put numbers on it. His whole teaching was built on one idea. Speed you can't control is worthless. Speed you deliver to the ball at the right moment is everything. So here's what you do. On the range, and even on the course, I want you to swing at what feels like 80% effort. Not 100, not 90, 80. It will feel too easy. It will feel like you're not trying. And your ball will go farther and straighter, because now your body has time to sequence properly and deliver the clubhead when it matters. I fought this for 2 days. My whole life I'd been told to give it everything. But the numbers on the range didn't lie. Easy was longer. But swinging easier only works if your body can still turn. And that brings me to the second mistake, the one that quietly steals more distance from older golfers than anything else, and the one almost nobody tells you how to fix. The second mistake is that you've stopped turning your body, and you're swinging with your arms alone. This one is sneaky. It happens so gradually you never feel it. As we get older, our backs get a little stiffer, our hips get a little tighter, and without realizing it, we stop rotating. We start lifting the club with just our arms and hands. The body stays still. And when the body stops turning, the engine of the golf swing shuts off. Mr. Takeda spotted this in me within minutes. He stood behind me, put his hands on my shoulders, and physically turned them for me on the backswing. I felt a stretch across my back I hadn't felt in years. He wanted my shoulders to turn away from the target while my hips stayed more stable, creating a coil, like winding up a spring. Then that spring unwinds, and that's where real distance is born. Here's the thing that shocked me. I thought I couldn't turn anymore because I was old and stiff. That wasn't true. I could turn. I'd just stopped asking my body to. I'd been babying it for so long that I'd forgotten how. Within a week of gentle turning, my range of motion actually improved. The stiffness wasn't a wall, it was rust, and rust comes off. The science here is clear. The power in a golf swing comes from what's called the kinetic chain. It starts from the ground, moves up through the hips, into the torso, out through the shoulders and arms, and finally into the club. Each part passes energy to the next, building speed like a whip. When you swing with your arms only, you've cut the whip down to just the tip. You've thrown away the biggest, strongest links in the chain, your legs and your core. Studies on golfers over the age of 60 have found that the single biggest difference between the ones who keep their distance and the ones who lose it isn't strength. It's rotation. The golfers who keep turning keep their yards. The ones who freeze up lose 30, 40, even 50 yards over a decade, and they blame it all on getting old. So here's your fix, and it costs nothing. Before every round, and honestly every morning, do this. Hold a club across your shoulders, behind your neck, with your arms draped over it. Get into your golf posture. Then slowly turn your shoulders back as far as they comfortably go, then through to the other side. 10 times each way. Gentle. Never forced. This wakes up the rotation and reminds your body what it's supposed to do. And when you swing, think of one simple thought. Turn your back to the target. That's it. Get your back facing where you want the ball to go, at the top of your swing. If you can do that, you've kept the engine running. I started turning again, and I could feel the power coming back. But there was still something missing. My weight was stuck, frozen over the wrong foot. And that leads to the third mistake, which Mr. Takeda fixed with a trick so simple I laughed out loud when I saw it. The third mistake is that you're leaving your weight on your back foot and hanging back at impact. This is the one I see on every senior tee box in America. The golfer makes his swing, and at the finish he's leaning back, almost falling away from the target, like he's trying to help the ball up into the air. It feels like you're getting under it and lifting it. What you're actually doing is killing your power and adding a slice. Here's what real distance looks like. At impact, your weight should be moving toward the target, onto your front foot. The great ball strikers finish with almost all their weight on that front leg, balanced, the back heel up off the ground. They're moving through the ball, not backing away from it. Mr. Takeda showed me this with a drill that cost nothing. He had me hit a few shots with my feet together, almost touching. You can't hang back when your feet are together. You'll fall over. Your body is forced to stay centered and shift properly just to keep balance. After 10 of those, he had me step back to a normal stance, and for the first time in years I felt my weight flow forward through the ball. The sound was different, cleaner, longer. Why does hanging back cost you so much? Think about the ground. The ground is where all your power comes from. When you push off the ground and shift toward the target, you're adding force to the swing. Researchers who study this measure what they call ground reaction force, the push you get from the earth. Long hitters generate a force through their legs and feet worth well over their own body weight at the moment of impact. Golfers who hang back generate almost none of it. They've disconnected from the ground, and the ground was giving them free power. There's an age trap hidden in this too. As we get older and our balance gets a little less certain, we instinctively sit back on our rear foot because it feels safer. It feels more stable. But that instinct, the very thing trying to protect you, is stealing your distance. You have to override it. So this week, try the feet together drill. Put your feet close, almost touching, and hit some easy half shots with a middle iron. 10 or 15 of them. It forces your weight to move correctly and rebuilds your balance at the same time. Then, when you swing normally, hold your finish. Pose it. Get all your weight onto your front foot and stay there for 3 full seconds, watching the ball fly. If you can hold that finish, you shifted correctly. If you stumble backward, you hung back, and you just found 30 of your missing yards. Now here's where it gets interesting. Because even after I learned to swing easier, turn my body, and shift my weight, there was one more thing choking my swing to death. And it was happening in a place I never would have thought to look. My hands. The fourth mistake is that you're strangling the club, and your death grip is destroying your club head speed. Grip pressure is the most underrated killer of distance in golf, and older golfers are the worst offenders. As we age and lose a little confidence in our swing, we grab the club tighter. We think holding on hard gives us control. It does the exact opposite. It locks up your wrists, freezes your forearms, and murders the whip action that creates speed. Let me tell you how Mr. Takeda taught me this, because I'll never forget it. He handed me my driver and told me, through gestures, to grip it as tight as I possibly could. Knuckles white. Then he tried to wiggle the club head. It barely moved. My whole arm was one stiff pole. Then he had me hold it soft, just firm enough that it wouldn't fly out of my hands, and he wiggled the club head again. It whipped back and forth freely, loose and alive. He pointed at that loose, whipping club head and said one word. That single word carried more truth about speed than anything I'd been told in 40 years of playing, and it's exactly why I sat down and wrote everything Mr. Takeda showed me into 3 books of my own. Not a summary of this video, but the full method. The pause that calms your tempo before you ever reach the top. The quiet club face that kills the slice without rebuilding your swing. The miss-by-miss fixes so you can read your own bad shots. A 30-day blueprint, printable cards you can carry to the course, and the chapters for men working around a stiff back and a 50-year-old spine. Everything practiced in socks, in your living room, with the clubs already in your bag. You'll learn to diagnose what your top, your fat shot, and your weak slice are actually telling you, and to hold your pattern together on the day's pressure and fatigue, try to take it back. If that's what you want, Scan the QR code right there on your screen, link in the description, pinned comment for the books. Now, back to your hands, because the same tight grip that steals your release also does something else to you that almost nobody explains. Speed. That was the whole lesson. A loose grip lets the club release. And the release, that snapping motion where the club head catches up and passes your hands through impact, is where the last and biggest burst of speed comes from. Strangle the club and you kill the release. You're literally holding the brakes on all the way through the ball. There's a way to measure this. Teachers often use a scale of 1 to 10 for grip pressure, where 10 is as hard as you can squeeze and 1 is barely holding on. Most senior golfers grip at an 8 or a 9 without knowing it. The number you want is about a 4. Firm enough for control, soft enough to let the club whip. When I first gripped at a 4, it felt like the club was going to fly out of my hands. It didn't, and my drives jumped forward again. Here's something else that death grip does to you. It creates tension that travels straight up your arms into your shoulders, and that tension makes you swing too hard, which was mistake number 1. You see how these all connect? A tight grip feeds a tense swing kills your tempo, and bad tempo throws off your sequence. Loosen the hands and the whole chain starts to heal. So here's your fix. Before you swing, waggle the club. Just move the club head back and forth gently with your wrists a couple of times. You physically cannot waggle with a tight grip, so the waggle itself tells you your hands are soft enough. Then keep that same soft pressure through the whole swing. Think, hold a small bird. Firm enough that it can't fly away, soft enough that you don't hurt it. That old image has been passed around for generations because it works. Now, I know what some of you are thinking right about now. This all sounds fine for a man who spent 2 weeks in Japan with a private teacher and nothing but time on his hands. You've got a busy life. Grandkids, a house to keep up. Maybe you only get to play once a week if you're lucky. You're wondering how any of this fits into a real life that doesn't revolve around golf. I want to speak to you directly because I felt the same doubt. So let me show you how to fold all of this into an ordinary week without changing a single thing about your schedule or spending $1. You do not need a driving range. You do not need to join anything. Everything I've told you so far can be practiced at home, in the time it takes to wait for your coffee to brew. Take the rotation drill. The club across the shoulders, the gentle turn back and through. You can do that in your living room, in your kitchen, in your garage, in your pajamas. 10 turns each way while the coffee drips. That's 90 seconds. Do it every morning for 2 weeks and your turn will be freer than it's been in 10 years. I've seen men gain 15 yards from that one drill alone, and they never left their house to earn it. The grip pressure fix costs you nothing and needs no space. Pick up any club, or even a broom handle, and practice holding it at a 4 instead of a 9. Waggle it. Feel the difference between soft and tight. Do it while you watch television. Your hands will start to remember the feeling, and it'll carry straight onto the course. The feet together balance drill needs about 6 feet of space and a soft object. You don't even need real golf balls. Some plastic practice balls in the backyard, or honestly just making the swings in the air, will teach your body the weight shift. Put your feet together, make slow, smooth swings, and feel your balance move forward to your front foot. 5 minutes in the yard, a few times a week. And the tempo, the 80% easy swing, you can rehearse anywhere you can safely swing a club. Slow it down, count it out, feel the smoothness. The whole point is that you're training the pattern, and the pattern doesn't care whether you're at a fancy course or standing on your back patio at sunset. Here's what I want you to understand. Mr. Takeda's own students, the ones who improved the most, weren't the ones who hit 1,000 balls a day. They were the older folks who did small, correct movements often, at home, between the things that make up a life. Little and often beats hard and rare, every single time. Your body learns through repetition, not through punishment. So don't let the "I don't have time" story steal this from you the way it almost stole it from me. 3 or 4 minutes a day, in the house you already live in, with a club you already own, is enough to bring those yards home. Now, there's still a fifth mistake we haven't covered. And then I'm going to give you the old man's secret drill, the one that pulled everything together for me in a single afternoon, the one rooted in a Japanese teaching method most Western golfers have never heard of. Stay with me, because this last part is the piece that makes all the others finally click. The fifth mistake is that you're aimed wrong before you ever move the club, and your setup is quietly sabotaging every swing. This is the one nobody wants to hear, because it means the problem starts before the swing even begins. But it's true, and Mr. Takeda spent an entire morning on it with me. He said, again through gestures and a few English words, that a bad swing from a good setup beats a good swing from a bad setup. Your position at address decides what's even possible. Here's what goes wrong for most older golfers. Over the years, without noticing, your stance gets narrower, your posture gets more slumped, and your aim drifts offline. A narrow stance destroys your balance and your ability to shift weight, which we already know costs you power. A slumped, rounded posture blocks your shoulders from turning, which kills your rotation. And poor aim makes you swing across the ball, which turns into that weak, distance-robbing slice so many seniors fight. Mr. Takeda widened my stance until my feet were about shoulder-width apart for the driver, sometimes a touch wider. Suddenly I had a stable base to turn against and shift onto. Then he tilted me forward from the hips, not the waist, so my back was long and straight, not hunched. That small change opened up my shoulders and let me turn a full 10 or 15 degrees further, effortlessly. Then he laid a club on the ground pointing at the target and had me set my feet parallel to it. My aim had been off to the right for years, and I'd been compensating with an over-the-top slice move my whole life without knowing it. The fix here is a routine you build once and repeat forever. Set your feet about shoulder width for the longer clubs. Tilt forward from your hip joints so your arms hang down freely under your shoulders, back straight. And check your aim by laying a club on the ground during practice, pointing where you want the ball to go. Then setting your feet, hips, and shoulders parallel to it. Do this enough, and it becomes automatic. You'll walk up to the ball already in a position that lets everything else work. A good setup makes the easy swing easier, the turn fuller, the weight shift smoother, and the grip more relaxed. It's the foundation all four other fixes stand on. Get it right and the whole thing starts to feel simple instead of like a fight. So now you have all five. Swing easier, not harder. Turn your body, don't just lift your arms. Shift your weight forward, don't hang back. Soften your grip, don't strangle the club. And set up correctly before you ever move. Each one gives you yards. Together they give you back the golfer you thought you'd lost. But there was one more thing. On my last day at that little range, Mr. Takeda showed me a drill I've never seen taught anywhere in America. And I've been holding on to it for you this whole time. On that final afternoon, the rice fields going gold in the evening light, he brought out something strange. An old wooden club, not a modern driver, an actual persimmon wood head, worn smooth, the kind they made before metal took over. He told me, with my friend translating over the phone, that this was how he'd learned as a young man in the 1950s and how his own teacher had learned before the war. The method had a feeling to it he described as old wood. Here's what it was. The wooden club head was heavier and less forgiving than a modern driver. If you swung it too hard, too fast, or out of sequence, it twisted in your hands and the ball flew terribly. The only way to hit it well was to swing smooth, let it build speed slowly, stay relaxed, and let the weight of the head do the work. The club itself taught you tempo. It refused to reward force. It only rewarded rhythm. He had me make swings with that old wooden club, feeling its weight lag behind my hands, feeling it build speed on its own, if I just stayed patient and let it. And something clicked that no words had managed to teach me. My body finally understood what "let the club do the work" actually felt like. All five fixes came together in one motion. Easy tempo, full turn, Weight forward, soft hands, good setup. The old wood forced all of it at once. Now you probably don't have a persimmon wood driver lying around. You don't need one. Here's how to recreate the old wood drill with what's already in your bag this weekend. Take a head cover, an old towel, or a small hand towel, and drape it over the head of your driver, or take your heaviest club. Better yet, take 2 irons and hold them together, or put a head cover over your driver head to add weight and drag. Then make slow, smooth practice swings, feeling that extra weight lag behind your hands. Let it swing you as much as you swing it. Feel it build speed gradually, never all at once. Feel how you physically cannot yank it or force it without losing control. That drag, that resistance, teaches your body the exact rhythm and sequence that the 5 fixes are all reaching for. Do this. 10 slow swings feeling the weight, then set the extra weight aside and hit a few normal shots, trying to keep that same unhurried feeling. The old wood teaches through the club instead of through the brain, and the body never forgets a lesson it learns through feel. This one drill, this simple weighted swing rooted in a Japanese teaching tradition older than most of us, will do more for your distance than any $400 driver ever will. I flew home from Japan a different golfer. Within a month, my drives were back over 220 yards. Within a season, I was longer than I'd been at 55, and I was swinging so much easier that my back stopped hurting after a round. My friends thought I'd bought some magic new club. I told them the truth. I stopped swinging hard. I started turning. I moved my weight. I loosened my hands. I fixed my setup, and I learned to let the club do the work, the way an old man taught me beside a rice field. Here's what I really want you to take from all this. The distance you think age stole from you was never actually gone. It was buried under 5 small habits that crept in while you weren't looking. Habits nobody bothered to help you fix because it's easier to sell you a new driver than to teach you tempo. You didn't lose your swing. You just lost the feel of it. And feel can come back at any age. If you're the kind of person who suspects the answer was never in the store, never in the newest gadget, but in something simpler and older that got pushed aside, then you and I are the same. That's exactly the kind of quiet, practical knowledge I go looking for, and it's out there waiting for anyone willing to slow down and learn it. So let me ask you this, and I really do want your answer. Of the 5 mistakes, which one hit closest to home for you? Was it swinging too hard, or the death grip that's been strangling your speed? Tell me in the comments right now, and if you've got a distance story of your own, a yard you lost or a yard you got back, put it down there too. I read them, and other golfers your age read them, and it helps more than you know. And if you want more of this, the real methods that got buried under all the marketing, come join us by subscribing. This is a place for people who are done being sold dependents and want to recover the things that actually last. Next time, I'm going to show you the one simple pre-round movement Mr. Takeda did every single morning. A 2-minute routine that kept an almost 80-year-old man hitting it 240 yards. And it's not stretching the way you think. You won't want to miss it. Bring that old wood feel with you, and I'll see you on the next one. Before you go, one thing. In this video I gave the overview, but inside my membership, the Quiet Wisdom Circle, I walk you through the old wood tempo drill, step by step. If something isn't clicking, ask me directly, and a real person, me, answers you myself. You won't be alone. Everyday folks just like you are already in there. Just point your phone's camera at the code on screen. Cancel anytime with one click. Now imagine adding even more distance with one simple move you can actually do. In this next video, I'll show you Fred Couples' easy swing secret that changes everything after 60. Let's keep going, it's starting right now.